Hello, Nashua, New Hampshire, and welcome to the Voting in Nashua, New Hampshire information presentation. The presentation consists of an opening, an introduction, closing remarks, and 3 information modules. First module describes our form of government, who can legally vote, and why to vote. The second module covers preparing to vote and choosing candidates. The third module covers how to vote and where to vote. So welcome to Voting in Nashua, New Hampshire. Voters in the past few elections expressed their concerns to candidates about how to register to vote, where to vote, and what candidates they should vote for. The information in each of the 3 modules should help voters get information to register to vote, find out where to vote, and make informed candidate choices for each of the city, state, and national elections. So let's go over a little history on voting. The power of well-informed voters is incredible. Your single vote does count when added to the total of many others. Our form of government and constitution gives all the power to the citizens and limits the power of elected officials and government. We are the only people in the world with this much power over their government. It's called self-governance, and you must protect it with your vote. The settlers in the New World did not have a voice in government affairs and were at the mercy of the king. Each time they pushed back on the king, the penalties were more severe. When taxes got so high that most settlers could not pay them, they decided to revolt. The phrase taxation without representation was used to help people understand the need to declare their independence from England. Our founding fathers drafted the Declaration of Independence, sending a clear message to the King of England demanding their independence. The king responded with troops. Freedom and liberty were so important to the settlers that they were willing to fight and die for their independence. The Revolutionary War was won by the settlers, defeating the English army, which was considered the greatest army in the world. Our founding fathers were now tasked with forming a government that was representative of all settlers. They decided on a republic form of government. They drafted a constitution that put all the power in the hands of the people, not the government. To make certain the people were protected from excessive government power, they added the first 10 amendments, known as our Bill of Rights. Included in the U.S. Constitution is your right to vote. Thousands of settlers fought and died for their independence, freedom, and liberty. For you to keep it all you need to do is vote. Let's cover Module 1, our form of government, who can vote, and why you should vote. What form of government does the United States have? Our founding fathers debated and finally decided on a hybrid form of a republic. The United States has a constitutional republic form of government, which means our Constitution provides legal citizens full power and control of government by voting and self-governance. According to our founding fathers, self-governance means we the people are the government. The United States is the only country in the world with this form of government. Now, the United States is a constitutional republic, not a democracy. A republic is a government system where the power rests with the Constitution. A democracy is a government in which the power is vested to the people. Both forms of government can be exercised directly by the people. In large societies, it is by the people or legal citizens through their elected agents. A key difference between a republic and a democracy: in a republic, only legal citizens have the power in government. In a democracy, people have the power in government. Why does this difference matter? In a republic, who the citizens are is generally well understood. To make it clear and legal, our Constitution defines who is a citizen. In a democracy, who the people are is not clear and can be defined by the government. Now, who can vote in U.S. elections? Your right to vote is defined in the U.S. Constitution and in the New Hampshire State Constitution. Take a look at the U.S. Constitution. Right of citizens to vote, covered in the 15th Amendment, Section 1. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. And in Section 2, the Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. and was ratified on February 3, 1870. The New Hampshire State Constitution, under Article 11, elections and elective franchises, all elections are to be free, and every inhabitant of the state of 18 years of age and upwards shall have the equal right to vote in any election. Every person shall be considered an inhabitant for the purposes of voting in the town, ward, or unincorporated place where he has his domicile. No person shall have the right to vote under the Constitution of this state who has been convicted of treason, bribery, or any willful violation of the election laws of this state or of the United States. But the Supreme Court may, on notice to the Attorney General, restore the privilege to vote to any person who may have forfeited it by conviction of such offenses. The General Court shall provide by law for voting by qualified voters who at the time of the biennial or state elections or of the primary elections therefore, or of city elections or of town elections by official ballot are absent from the city or town of which they are inhabitants, or who by reason of physical disability are unable to vote in person. In the choice of the officer or officers to be elected, or upon any question submitted at such election, voting registration and polling places shall be easily accessible to all persons, including disabled and elderly persons who are otherwise qualified to vote in the choice of any officer or officers to be elected, or upon any question submitted at such election. The right to vote shall not be denied to any person because of the non-payment of taxes. Every inhabitant of the state having the proper qualifications has equal right to be elected into office. This was ratified on June 2nd, 1784. Please note, the voting section of both constitutions listed in this module were copied directly from the constitutions as published on the usa.gov and nh.gov websites and include all amendments to date. So what does all this mean? Only citizens domiciled in the state of New Hampshire that are over the age of 18 and have not been convicted of any crimes listed in Article 11 of the New Hampshire State Constitution can legally vote in New Hampshire. Under New Hampshire law, the terms domicile and residence are equivalent. Establishing a voting domicile or residence may also trigger certain other residency obligations under state law. They may include the obligation to obtain a New Hampshire driver's license and/or motor vehicle registration. For more information on this, please visit newhampshire.gov, Secretary of State website. Why you should vote in all elections. Your vote is how you communicate your desired outcome of city, state, and national elections. All elected officials, by law, are required to represent all citizens. If you choose not to vote, you give up your power of self-governance, your desired outcome of elections. So why does this matter? Based on your constitutional right of self-governance, your vote will help retain our legal right of dominant power and supreme authority over our government for future generations. Why it's so important to vote? Our founding fathers, the architects of the Constitution, sought to form a more perfect union and established a government that would secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. They also knew how fragile this form of government was. At the urging of James Madison, George Mason, and others, a Bill of Rights was added, consisting of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights was carefully crafted to prevent the federal government from infringing on the rights of Americans. This was done by limiting the government's specific power, prohibitions beyond which it could never cross. All citizens have a duty to vote and protect these rights. Module 2, preparing to vote and choosing candidates. Preparation is the most important part of choosing the right candidates for each of the elections. Module 1 explained how important your vote really is. Voting is the only way you can directly influence the outcome of an election in your favor. Regardless of the election, whether it's our city, state, or national election, the preparation is basically the same. Preparation includes deciding what issues are important to you and your family and what election those issues are best aligned to. Remember, there isn't a right or wrong when deciding what issues are important. What is best for you and your family is all that matters. In some cases, depending on the election, you may also want to consider what is best for your community. To take the mystery and anxiety out of the decision and voting process, a clear understanding of the purpose of each election is necessary. This will help you match what issues are important to you in each of the three types of elections. As mentioned earlier, there are three major elections that occur in New Hampshire. There may also be other elections held to address any unexpected situations that require a special election. To make this simple, the focus will be on the three key elections in New Hampshire: city, state, and national. There are also primary elections, which are held a few months prior to the state and national elections. City elections do not have a primary election because the candidates and the offices they are running for are considered not to be aligned with any political party. Now, Nashua city elections occur every 2 years. In our city election, voters choose candidates that live in our city. The election outcome has a direct effect on the citizens of Nashua property taxes, budgets, education, and Nashua laws and regulations, etc. Elected candidates conduct the people's business in Nashua City Hall. Nashua ballots include some of the positions listed here: alderman, department supervisor, board of education, fire chief, to name a few. New Hampshire state elections also occur every 2 years. Candidates could live in our city or somewhere else in our state, depending on what office they are running for. An example of an office on the Nashua ballot where a candidate does not need to live in Nashua or a Nashua ward is executive council. To seek office as an executive councilor, a candidate must be 30 years of age, a registered voter, and domiciled in New Hampshire for at least 7 years. The candidate must also live in the district they are running in. An example of an office on the Nashua ward ballot is New Hampshire State Representative, which requires the candidate to be domiciled in Nashua and the ward that they are running in. The election outcome has a direct effect on the residents of Nashua and New Hampshire with regard to state budgets, roads, New Hampshire state laws and regulations, etc. State elected officials conduct the people's business in Concord, our state capital. Nashua ward ballots contain some of the offices listed here: state senator, state representative, executive council, and governor, to name a few. New Hampshire state elections have a primary a few months before the state election in early November. National elections occur every 2 years. The candidates on the ballot represent the citizens in our country, state, and the city of Nashua. The election outcome has a direct effect on the citizens of Nashua, New Hampshire, and the United States with regard to national security, military action, income taxes, interstate commerce, national laws, and regulations. Elected officials conduct the people's business in the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. Nashua ward election ballots contain some of the offices listed here: President, U.S. Senate, U.S. Representatives, New Hampshire State Senate, New Hampshire Representatives, to name a few. Now, New Hampshire national elections have a primary a few months before the election in early November. So what is a primary election? In some cases, there may be more candidates running for an office than there are offices on the ballot to be filled. A primary election is an election in which registered voters in each party select a candidate or candidates that they believe should be their political party's candidate for elected office to run in the state and national elections. They are also used to choose convention delegates and party leaders. So, selecting a candidate to vote for. Now that we have determined the three major elections and some candidates that are on the ballot, it's time to choose your candidates. Depending on the election, the issues that are important to you must align with the elections and with the candidates running for office. Always do your own candidate research. Relying on news, advice from others, or voting for someone that is currently in office may not give you the candidate that aligned with your important issues. The candidates running for office that are currently in office or once held in office are the easiest to check to verify if they support what is important to you and your family. Go online and check their prior voting record, and your best source for voting records is the newhampshire.gov website. Voting records are public information and also available online through a number of organizations that track candidates. Candidates running for the first time need a little more effort to determine their alignment with your important issues. I suggest talking directly with the candidate in person or over the phone. Talking directly to a candidate running in state and national elections can be difficult. I suggest contacting their campaign office and speak with one of their supporters. Always get the name of the person you spoke with. Remember, you may not find the perfect candidates. You may need to compromise, but you should still cast your vote. Go to nashuanh.gov and make a list of the offices that will be on the ballot and select your preferred candidates. As the election draws closer, sample ballots for each ward will be available from the nashuanh.gov city clerk's office. Print it out, fill it out, and bring it to the polls on voting day. This will reduce the chances of making a mistake. Module 3, how and where to vote in Nashua, New Hampshire. If you are currently registered to vote in Nashua and are party affiliated, you can vote in city, state, and national elections and the state and national primaries. If you are registered as undeclared, you can vote in all elections except the state and national primaries. To vote in the primaries, you must register with a party. Check online at nashuanh.gov for instructions on how to register with a party. If you are not a registered voter in New Hampshire, you cannot legally vote in any New Hampshire elections. The process to register is very simple and does not take a lot of time. The time it takes to register is usually less time than the time it takes to drive to and from Nashua City Hall. Now, there are two processes to register to vote: in person and absentee. A third process, same-day registration and voting on voting day, is also an option in certain circumstances. So how do I register to vote? To register to vote in New Hampshire, each applicant must be a citizen of the United States, domiciled in New Hampshire, and at least 18 years old by the next election. Individuals may register to vote in person at the Nashua City Clerk's office, by absentee application, or at your polling place on the day of election. Same-day registration applicants must fill out a voter registration form and either show proof of identity and citizenship or sign an affidavit witnessed by an election official. Absentee registration is allowed for those who are unable to register in person because of a physical disability, religious beliefs, military service, or because of a temporary absence. The instructions for absentee voter registration can be found on the nashuanh.gov website. So voting in person or by absentee ballot. Voting in person is always the best option. If you cannot vote in person, your right to vote is not lost. You can legally vote in New Hampshire with an absentee ballot. The process for an absentee ballot is on the nashuanh.gov website. A voter is eligible to vote absentee in an election if he or she cannot make it to the polls on election day for one of the following reasons. The voter will be absent from his or her polling location on the day of election, the observance of a religious commitment, a physical disability, an employment obligation, or due to military service. So where do I vote in Nashua? Your voting location in Nashua is determined by your address and ward. You can find your voting ward by going to nashuanh.gov, which has a map of all 9 wards in Nashua and the voting locations for each ward. So let's take a look at planning to vote. Along with the voting location, the open and close times for the polls in Nashua are published in the nashuanh.gov website. To avoid delays, the best time to go to the polls is about 30 minutes after the polls open or about 30 minutes before the polls close. By the way, long delays at polls in Nashua are very rare, even at peak times. Pre-plan your voting day. Choose a time that allows for travel to and from the polls. The voting process in Nashua is very efficient. Depending on what time you vote, the wait time in line is about 10 to 15 minutes. Remember to bring your candidate selection list or a mock-up sample ballot to make your voting process accurate and efficient. In closing, there is an incredible amount of pride and satisfaction when you cast your ballot. Your active participation in voting gives you the power of controlling the government at all levels, protecting freedom, liberty, and independence for you and future generations. New Hampshire uses paper ballots. The votes are counted in machines that are not connected to the web. Therefore, the vote count is safe from outside interference. It does no good to complain about actions of elected officials. A better option, choose candidates that match what you think is best for you, your family, and your community. Voting will give you the best chance of getting the best results. To get even better results for you, your family, consider running for city, state, or national office. I hope this information helps you understand the voting process, choose candidates, and vote with confidence. To understand more about the birth of our nation and our form of government, please read the following documents that are all available online: the Declaration of Independence, United States Constitution, the Federalist Papers, Thomas Paine's publications, and New Hampshire State Constitution. Remember, casting your ballot is like casting a fishing pole. You may not always catch what you want, but don't give up. Keep casting. The one you want is out there. Hope this information is helpful, and thank you for your time.